All right. So let's start with you, Ethan. What do you have to share that you'd like me to
Sure.
look at and critique?
So that link there is a draft for a new website being put together by more of like an agency. There's still some edits we're going to do, but the general idea is there. And I can put in a link to our existing website too, in case it's useful.
Yep, let's do that. Okay, let's rock.
I have a question for you. It looks like this is being
Yeah.
recorded. Does this get posted in like the group area, or is it just something that gets recorded and then thrown away or whatever?
I do post it to my YouTube channel.
Oh, perfect.
So, yeah. So if you go to youtube.com/Stefan Spencer,
Mm-hmm.
and then under playlists, you'll see the metal. Um, I think I forget. It's got the word metal in the playlist name.
I'll find it. Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So is this site pretty much fully baked, or is it still a big work in progress?
Um, it's close to being fully baked. We're going to change some of the copy, maybe swap out a few photos. The color scheme is basically fully there. Maybe change the color of a couple buttons. It's basically what's going to happen is I'm paying this sort of marketing agency. The reason I paid them is because I have a Wix site currently, which it looks okay, but I do nothing for SEO. I mean, we rank okay, but like I don't invest anything into doing SEO as like an ongoing process. And I wanted to explore the idea of having someone else kind of be maintaining SEO, and by sort of building a site that they can manage. This is sort of like the first step. Um, yeah, so that's where I'm at with this. And basically they're going to hand off this as a design, and I am actually free to edit it and change it personally. They give me access to the back end. I have some understanding, some skills, and I'm willing to, switch some things around and make it better. And I can do that.
Okay, and you hired them because they were expert at SEO or conversion or
I actually
both
hired,
or neither?
they're called Marketing 360, also known as Madwire. I don't know how those two different things are different, but related. But they kind of offer a suite of things that they can do for a business. So, for example, Facebook ads or Google ads. They've got a platform where you can monitor and track things. So I was kind of attracted to the idea of sort of integrating marketing processes and maybe handing it off to an agency. And this was a first step um, where I kind of have an out. So, like, if I don't want to work with them, I can take this website and run, and it basically is going to end up costing me like $1,500 or something, right? So we had a deal to work together for a few months. They'd put this website together. I think I have a contract for like 3 to 6 months, so I can take this website and go elsewhere if I want to.
Okay, so it's what, like 300 or $500 a month?
I think it's 4 or 5. Yeah, somewhere around that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty cheap,
Yes.
but you get what you pay for.
But well, I will say this. I will say this. What happens is there's a basic that's for a platform fee, and this website was included in me signing on. And then what happens is if I do want to do something else, then I pay per item that I want to add to the menu. So if I want them to start running Facebook ads, then that'll be a little bit more. So it can add up, but this is sort of the basic what I have right now.
Okay, well, it is cheap. I can also tell that they're not expert just by having like a 30-second view of the homepage, and that's it. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, do you see how these sliders change in size
Right.
as they rotate, and then
Right.
everything underneath it moves.
Mm-hmm.
That is a cardinal sin. And in fact, you get penalized by Google for it. Not yet, but starting in the month of May, the page
Wow.
experience update will penalize sites that do this. This is called CLS, cumulative layout shift.
Okay.
As part of the Core Web Vitals, there's a great article about Core Web Vitals here on samuelschmidt.com. So this explains what Google's Core Web Vitals are, how to check what your Core Web Vitals are, all this sort of stuff. And cumulative layout shift, that's this thing here. And we're for sure violating that because stuff's moving. That's terrible. Like, it's a horrible user experience. They're trying to read something below and it keeps moving around.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for that. There are other rookie mistakes too that I was about that made me think that
I'm
maybe these
also
guys
curious
don't know. But
if you want to pull up the existing site, right? You could take a look at it. That's basically all done by myself, but it is on like a Wix
okay,
platform, which I've been told is not great for SEO, although I don't know if I've been told by a trusted source. I have the option that I could just say, okay, thanks. That was like a $1,500, try on outsourcing my website that didn't work out, and I can just keep my existing site too. So if
yeah.
you
What
have
is
an
your
opinion on
existing
that,
site?
the second link is in the chat there. It's the second link.
Oh, right. I was not looking at the
floatingpianofactory.com.
chat. Okay, got it. Okay, so yeah, about Core Web Vitals. This is important for all you guys. Starting in May, when that page experience update goes live, we've been given a significant heads up by Google. They don't normally give us this much of a time ahead of time, but because of the pandemic and businesses are having such a hard time, they gave us, what was it, like 10 months or something heads up. So CLS, cumulative layout shift, FID, first input delay, and LCP, largest contentful paint. Those are the three things that make up Core Web Vitals. And you can see if you pass Core Web Vitals or not by going to Page Speed Insights. Just Google for that. It's a Google tool. It's at developers.google.com/speed/page-speed/insights. But you don't need to know that URL. Just Google for Page Speed Insights. So I'll put in floatingpianofactory.com in there. I'll also put in the dev site.
Right.
See how that fares. It's probably on a development server, which is probably going to be slower than a production server. So it's not as bad probably as it is now. Once it's live on production, it'll probably be a little bit faster. But it's probably not going to be markedly faster. Okay, so this is really poor. You do not pass Core Web Vitals. The Core Web Vitals are LCP, largest contentful paint. You're at 12.8 seconds. So that's a no bueno. Your cumulative layout shift, you do pass that at a 0.007, but you won't pass it if you go live with the new site without them fixing it. And this is your mobile score for page speed is a 13 out of 100. That's really bad. That's really, really slow. And then if you click on the desktop tab, you'll see that it scores a different number because it ends up being a little bit faster for desktop. A lot of times that ends up being the case, but it's still really poor, well down into the red zone. So let's put in your development site now. Let's see how that does. I'm not expecting it to do well from just eyeballing it, but we'll see. And it already is showing. Well, while it was loading, it was taking forever, so I knew something was up.
Totally.
So yeah, 37. Better than your live site, but not much.
Right.
It shouldn't be in the red. It shouldn't even be in the yellow. It should be green. Okay, so let's go back to your development site. And then we'll go to your live site in a minute, but I want to kind of circle back to some points that I had thought of and haven't shared yet. Why, oh why, do we have Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn chiclets at the top of the page? We work hard
That's one
to
of the
get
things
people.
we will move those, but yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, okay, good. You work hard and spend money to get people off of those platforms onto your website. We don't want them going back to the candy shop. They'll never come back. And if the main thing you want people to do is to book rather than like read more info,
Right.
then
That's
that's
going to
the
be
button
red.
that should be, yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know that red is the right color. Red
Okay.
is a great color to trigger the amygdala because it's red, like blood and danger and all that. Maybe it's
Lipstick too.
orange. Maybe it's sure. Maybe it's green. This is oftentimes done as a big orange button, Bob, but not always. And your mileage may vary. You probably should test it and see which performs better. And you can use different testing platforms like Visual Website Optimizer to see what's going to outperform the control. So if you start with view pricing as the button verbiage and you decide to test, I don't know, get the details or how to work with us or whatever it is, and you want to see which performs better, you can use a platform like VWO. So this is VWO.com, Visual Website Optimizer. It's not terribly expensive. It's not as expensive as Optimizely, but it's not cheap. So you're going to spend at least $100 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So it's VWO testing. And let's go have a look here. Oh, actually, it starts at $200 a month, and that's for the lowest tier. So, okay, so now let's go back and look at this slider again. And I hate sliders, and users hate sliders. This slider is a conversion killer, and it's annoying. It's bad user experience. Here is an article all about how bad sliders are. This article is titled Sliders, Don't Use Them. And here's why.
Great.
Yeah. And all of the big conversion experts agree. Chris Gower, Tim Ash, like these are big name people. They all say they suck. It's a distraction. It is adding cognitive load. It's not helpful. It actually deters people from buying your thing or inquiring or whatever the conversion event is. Okay. So another thing I want to point out that adds to the distraction factor here is why all the colorful logos? This is social proof. I like social proof, but the form of the social proof is way too distracting and makes me want to click. And oh, what happens when I click? Let's click on Etsy. Wow, that was not at all valuable. Click on Beirut. These should not be clickable. So let's look at how to kind of mute them down so they still look legit, but they don't distract us too much, distract users.
Can you say monochrome?
Yeah, exactly. So see how this grayscale effect is done in a very elegant way? And notice also that these logos are above the fold. I don't have to dig around as a user looking for social proof. It's just right there. Like, oh, he's been on NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox. That's cool. Harvard Business Review. Wow. Right. So that is what we're trying to accomplish here. This is way too much going on. And with even the colors getting grayscaled out, it would still be too much. And it's on the wrong place on the page. It should be above the fold. And can we make it a lot smaller and only pick the logos that are really the impressive ones? Mm-hmm. Princeton University and Vice are on just a whole other level to Ratatat. I've never heard of Ratatat or Electric Lady New York. I don't know if these are well-known brands.
Electric Lady is Jimi Hendrix studio. Ratatat's it's a well-known band in a niche, but maybe it does make sense to stick with things that are more generally well-known.
Yeah, household names, because you have some household names here. Department of State, American Museum of Natural History, Princeton University, Vice, and Etsy. You can just stop there. Like, we don't need to know about Martha Graham Dance Company.
Is Beirut like the entire Beirut?
It's a band. So these are kind of, I'm choosing social proof within a specific niche of, musicians playing on stage and things like this. I don't know if it's useful or not. Depends on the audience, I suppose.
Well, not only is it depending on the audience, but if we can figure out the ones that are household names that everybody will have heard of, then we don't have to worry about which audience segment is coming. And then when we have pages or sections specific to a particular segment, then we can get specific with a logo bar. So here's how I do it. On my speaking page, I have logos related to speaking. There you go. Stanford, shop.org, affiliate summit. Like, okay, I've heard of some of these. That's cool. I've spoken at all those for all those different organizations. If you're looking for a consulting, if you're looking to hire consultants for SEO, oh, I got you covered there. These are some of my clients. Perfect. Sony, Chanel, Zappos, etc. So you could do the exact same thing. You can do it on a separate page. You can do it on the same page, but a section about that or for that niche. Here's how I do it on the homepage. If you scroll down, you'll see another set of logos. Let's see, where is it? Oh, maybe we updated it. It used to be in this section here. We had the Stanford and shop.org and so forth there. But yeah, you can you can use those logos in a really clever way. And then book now, I don't know what that inspires in me, if anything. Right. So make my piano great again. I mean, that's kind of funny, but that's too long for a button. But if it could be in first person, if it can
Be like
be
tune me up or something
compelling,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's way more juicy.
Right.
Book now sounds like maybe I don't know, you have to book a funeral parlor or something, and
Right.
just
Accountant
doesn't,
or something.
yeah, it doesn't excite me.
It's,
Why
that's
is
one of the
this?
other things that's worth testing also.
Yeah, totally. So whenever you're running a platform like VWO, you want to test things like button verbiage, button colors, button placement, hero images, hero copy. Like, here's something that I think could be way better. Instead of quality piano tuners in New York City, there's good keywords in there for sure. The problem is um, it's not connecting me to a big bright future. Something I learned from Clay Bear was verb your noun. For example, if you are a mortgage brokers, you might have on your homepage in big letters, fund your dream. Right. So verb your noun. One of my clients is Happy. They're a wearable. It's this thing here. This is a device that you put on your head or wear around your neck, and it emits a low power frequency that emulates like caffeine. So if you choose the alert setting, it'll emulate caffeine without the jittery side effects, and it's a biohacking device. It's super cool. So on their homepage, their verb your noun is choose how you feel, because you got 6 different settings. Do I want to be happy? Do I want to be calm? Do I want to be alert? Do I want to be sleepy? So what's your verb your noun?
Can you go to the old site that has a, what do you call it? The scroll, the carousel that you didn't like, but there's a bunch of different maybe phrases up top, which maybe you'll see one and it's more inspiring. I don't know.
Yep. Let me just pull it up again from the chat.
I love your efficiency with tabs, Stefan. So some people just can't. It just turns into a million.
Well, I do normally have a lot more tabs, but I keep I keep it to the minimum for presentations. Okay, so you're doing the thing with the rotating slider right in the home section. I can't even finish reading, for example, that little blurb there. He arrived right on time and spent a good 3 hours, and then it switches.
Mm-hmm.
Floating Piano Factory is great. The website is user friendly. Blah blah blah, and it's very hard for people, especially
the phrases up
slow
top,
readers.
do any of the phrases up top sound like good options? Experience artistry.
Well, it should have the word your, because we want them to connect with this for it to be their future and not your pitch. So enjoy perfection doesn't really do it. 5-star service doesn't really do it. Experience artistry, yeah. Count on
So
us.
it could just say something like enjoy your piano again or something, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Experience your piano on steroids. No, I'm kidding. But it's just something that's got a verb and the word your and the noun.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we could
is.
pull off pimp your piano, but it's that kind of a feeling to it where it's kind of clever and exciting, and I'm gonna get something special out of this. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to do pimp your piano, but you're you're thinking out of the box, which I like. Cool. Okay. So let's look at oh, and you do have this above the fold. The social proof.
And again, that's the
where it
old one
belongs.
that I put together, and then the other one was the sort
Yeah.
of. I'm slowly but surely gathering that, you know, they're really not going to be performing as well as they're selling themselves as, you know, building websites. I mean, yeah, you're confirming this. I've seen, yeah, they're probably not much better than me, and they might be worse. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and this doesn't make sense. Why put the logo again here? This is such valuable screen real estate before you scroll down, and it's taken up by the logo again. The logo's up here. We don't need it twice. Instead of putting the social proof there, they put it down below where you'll barely ever see it, and then make you scroll past a logo. Okay, think in terms of copy that's good for SEO, but also compelling for the user and the reader. And if the copy does not make me want to keep reading, it's failed. Especially important for headlines. The best piano tuners in New York City also offering voicing, regulation, and repairs. Didn't you just say that you're quality piano tuners in New York City? You're repeating yourself. So this headline fails to compel me to keep reading. Why choose us? Yeah, it's okay. But it would be way more compelling if it had a little bit of, I don't know, juiciness to it, or a little counterintuitiveness, or a little intrigue, or curiosity gap, or something. Who we're not a fit for example. That would be intriguing. Like, who would they not be a fit for? I wonder if I'm not a fit. Right. So people who are just interested in the cheapest piano tuners in the entire area. That's not our jam. You're not a fit for us, and we're not a fit for you, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so book now. Again, not loving that verbiage. Reviews. I mean, that's common. It's used all over the place, but you could test it and see if praise might do better, or uh, huge praise, or like um, uh, results that speak for themselves, or I don't know. You can get creative here, and not that reviews is bad. It's just a little boring, and the whole rest of the page is boring. So, yeah, we got to spice it up. And then contact us. That's incongruent with a picture of a piano with nobody at it and nobody working on it. Contact an empty room. A little bit cognitive dissonance there, or like a little disconnect, or not congruent.
It might be interesting at some point, if there is time, to talk about like outsourcing and kind of best approaches to, you know, making that work. Because I think what I'm gathering here is this was a trial for me, you know, and it's kind of like, if you have them do this, put this together, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I can move on. Maybe I can take this and work with it and build it into something I like, but don't trust them to manage it. You know, another option is, maybe I'm not paying them enough, right? Of course, they're not going to give me something special. I chose the basic package. You know, are they the ones to pay more, or is it, no, maybe I need to pick somebody else and pay more? Yeah.
Yeah, I would pick somebody else and pay more. Like, they're making such rookie mistakes. They should know better. This area too, like, sign up for our newsletter. That keeps moving on us.
If I had just a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
If I had the founder of the company on my podcast, should I call him up and complain? Or do you not leave it at, you know, do you give him an opportunity to save face and like have a good make something
That's-
work?
That's really your call. I'd say
Okay.
it really depends on the situation.
Got it.
If I
Harry
could-
has something.
Yeah, if I could add that, I'd say there's a way to maybe comment and educate, but not as a complaint. You're getting fantastic feedback. And I think if you're sharing that with them and going, here's what I discovered. But what I keep thinking is Ken's quote, experts are expensive, but an amateur will cost you a fortune. And I constantly see us
Right.
dealing with that. It's kind of too big to know, but we don't have these big budgets to hire, the agency, which is why I love to leverage
Well,
stuff.
the thing is so you can work with Studio One Design. I love these guys. I send all my clients to them. I've had them build 7 different websites for me over the years, and they're not expensive. They're not $1,000, but if you're in the, let's say, high 4 figures budget range, the design might cost $5,000. The coding, if they did it, might cost another $5,000, or you could have someone else do the coding that's cheaper. So your cost with Studio One would either be maybe $5,000, maybe 9 or 10 grand, plus or minus 1,000 or $2,000. I'm just giving you a hypothetical because they would have to quote it. But these guys are phenomenal. And look at some of their clients and some of their work. This is the Jordan Harbinger show. So Jordan Harbinger, who used to be the host of the Art of Charm podcast, and now has his own separate show. He's one of the big podcasters. Yeah, go ahead.
I would add that we're confusing two pursuits here. We're talking about website development and messaging, and we're talking about voice and messaging and voice. While there are firms that can do both messaging and voice and build websites, they aren't the same thing. Creating a voice for your company and developing the right kind of messaging, because one of the things that Stefan is talking about is that the voice on what you've shown is not particularly engaging, but the solution isn't to pick one place and do a little bit here and pick one place and do a little there. The solution is to create a voice for your company. And when you have a real voice for your company, then you know what the right words are to use in all the places. And that's a copywriting and messaging issue as opposed to a website development issue, which again, it seems like the company that you're using isn't putting any effort into messaging. It's just building a site. And from what we've seen, it's not even doing a good job. But messaging is, in a lot of ways, way more important than your website because it innervates every single way you connect and touch people, from printed materials to online materials to invitations to all the different things you can do. And you want your voice to be consistent everywhere you touch anybody. And that's the single most important thing you can do.
Thanks for that, Ian. I think it is a critical missed component for Ethan. This is a great example of voice and tone standards, styles for MailChimp. They made their entire content style guide available online for free to anybody. So it's styleguide.mailchimp.com. And then this is the voice and tone section of that. Voice
Stefan, I'm sorry to interrupt. I lost your screen share for some reason.
Did anybody else lose the screen share?
No, I can
I've
see
got it.
Yeah, I think because I clicked onto something else and I don't know how to get you back. Can you share it again?
If you click on, or I mean, are you on a Mac?
Yes.
Hit the command, hold the command key, and then hit the tab. And you'll be able to see a row of all the icons, and then pick Zoom from the, hit tab again until you get to Zoom, and then let go of the command key.
I did that. Now let go of the command key. Yeah, it didn't come back. It usually does if I click on Zoom in my icon bar. Sorry guys about this, but it's not.
Okay.
It's
Or
only
I'll turn off sharing and then turn it back on. That's okay.
sorry. It's important. I want to see it.
Yeah. So this is the
Okay,
content style
gotcha.
guide for MailChimp at styleguide.mailchimp.com. And voice is different from tone, and that voice is consistent. It's ongoing. It's a rock that, or a very sturdy tree. Whereas tone is more versatile. It changes depending on who the audience is. It changes depending on the circumstances, the situation. It's serious times these days. So MailChimp has adjusted its tone to be a little bit more somber, but still informal and still, a little bit cheeky, but not ever crass. So the voice is cheeky but never crass, and then the tone is adjustable. And figuring out your messaging and your voice and the tone for these different audiences is really helpful for everything you do, not just marketing wise, but customer service related, and even for employee retention and everything. So I definitely agree with Ian on all that. I try to focus the show on conversion and SEO, of course. And from a conversion standpoint, I was pointing out issues that I found to be problematic, that the design company that you hired should have known better. And the example I was going to share here before we ended up kind of going on a sidetrack talking about Studio One Design, who does get conversion-based design. That's the thing, is they won't design something that's not going to convert well. But you see how this SEO hiring blueprint that I have at the bottom of my homepage, it doesn't ask for an email address or first name yet. They have to click on the subscribe button, and then the pop-up, the modal box actually asks for that. See how that works? And if you compare that with what you've got on the mock-up. Oh, and also notice the image of the free thing, the SEO hiring blueprint. It had a cover in 3 dimensions. It looked really cool. But you have the value prop being sign up for our newsletter. How many of you think that you don't have enough newsletters
No,
that you're
thanks.
subscribed to? Anyone? So this value prop is not working. And if instead you wanted to make it about them and value for them and an irresistible offer, what are the 9 biggest mistakes that piano owners make that cause their pianos to go out of tune unnecessarily? I just made that up. That's just an example of something. Like, if you care about having a tuned piano, who would not want to know the big 9 mistakes? And that would be a free download, and you're not asking for the name and email yet. You're giving them the opportunity to say yes to that with a button that is in first person. So something like assess my website is in first person, or down here at the bottom. Well, actually, I would think I would change that to something that's first person. I'll make a note for my team to do that. But you get the gist of that, right? So these are just conversion things right just on the homepage. We didn't really cover SEO yet. But if you wanted to rank for, let's say, Piano Tuner New York, which appears to be something that you're trying to rank for, because those are the first 4 words in the title tag. Why do they have United States in the title tag? What is that about? That makes no sense to me. Okay, so they're doing some weird stuff. But let's search for Piano Tuner New York and see if you even have a shot at ranking for that. Who's showing up on page 1 for that? Because if it's all the big dogs like I don't know, Yelp and oh yeah, there's Yelp and Thumbtack. Okay, so you're already on page 1. That's good. Ah, so they just took the title tag right from your live site. You've got United States in your title tag. They didn't improve on the title tag at all. They just turned their brain off and they just copied and pasted like a robot.
Right.
Like, how could they not notice that United States is in the title tag on the most important page of the site from Google's perspective, and it's the most important element on the page from Google's perspective, and it's got something completely broad and useless with the phrase United States. They should have fixed that. So my concern is you're already on page 1 for Piano Tuner New York. Will your ranking actually go down when this new site goes live? It's possible.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm probably going to just cut and run before they even try to take it live. Or if it's just a matter of me taking the actual website and trying to improve what they made.
Yeah. I mean, it would be...
Is there anything about the website like that you can tell that it's not necessary? So, like for example, one thing they did right now, I have basically a one-page website. Now, they separated it out into different tabs. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but that's what they wanted to do. So like, that's productive. I could come in here and put more story and put more creativity in here and, do some interesting things, but use this site and then try to optimize it for SEO purposes and go ahead and take the risk of making the transition. Like,
yeah. So I don't like one-page websites. Google doesn't like one-page websites. You're still managing to rank with a one-page website, but the thing is if you had 5 pages, that's 5 different virtual salespeople, essentially, versus 1. That's more opportunities to rank for different keywords. If you try to rank for, let's say, 100 keywords with a one-page website, you're asking for an awful lot from one page. It's like, hey, Mr. or Ms. Salesperson, I need you to prop up the entire company. Like, you've got to sell like you've never sold before. And I need you to bring it. I need you to be on page 1 for 100 keywords. It's just not. That's not nearly as workable as having 5 pages. But it's actually much better to have 15 pages or 50 pages. Actually, if you had a blog and then you had blog posts or a learning center or a piano academy or something like that was all about like piano care, so instead of learning piano care assistant or something. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, but if there's a whole set of resources, articles and videos and so forth in there about caring for your piano, how to clean the keys, how to keep moisture out of the room, how to store it if you're going for an extended vacation, like all sorts of really useful stuff. Then imagine how many different keywords you could rank for beyond just Piano Tuner New York.
right.
Yeah, so the multiple pages is good.
And the existing site is on a Wix platform, and I've chosen that just because it's it's actually been surprising. I didn't used to think Wix was impressive, but it's been surprisingly easy for me to just like put together a site that looks pretty good. But I've been told by lots of friends who do SEO or websites where they're like, don't be on Wix. Like that's a bad idea. Do you think there's an advantage to moving like over to WordPress that's enough that I should go ahead and switch over and do all this stuff on a new site? Or should I can add pages on Wix, you know, and keep what I have and keep the ranking I have and just modify what I have?
Well, you'd have to switch to a different theme. And what concerns me about Wix is it wasn't designed with SEO in mind.
Right.
They didn't have.
That's how they sold me
top
when
SEO. Yeah.
why I timed this, because they're like, oh, now you can design it with SEO mind because Wix isn't, you know, and you're showing me, well, if that's why you sold me, you're not really fulfilling in on,
correct,
you know, potential.
Yeah. So this about page is an example of them just kind of not, I don't know, turning their brains off. So the title tag is about floating piano factory. There are no keywords in there. And then the big headline here is floating piano company. So that's not even your company name. Floating piano factory. And why would you repeat it again? And why is it up here, floating piano company, when this is just sloppy. It's FPF, but then they've got the word company instead of factory. And,
do you have any, so by the way, to just because this is on topic of what you're saying, so this has been a process, right? Like they did a first draft, they decided I get 3 drafts, and this is basically the second draft, and we're moving on to the third draft. So is it possible to like let this go and say, okay, you know, this is just a second draft, they made some things, mistakes, whatever, but you know, we'll iron all these things out on the final draft? Like, how much do you think this kind of stuff is understandable along the way of making drafts versus no, this is, we're just seeing this is not a good sign?
it's not a good sign.
These guys don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they
Right.
don't know what they don't know.
There's too many things that are wrong for it to get fixed in the third draft. By the second draft, you should be 85% along the way. And third draft is for tweaks and minor upgrades, not for complete overhauls.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. Let me show you an about page that I think is super cool. I'm not going to show you mine because that's looks like bragging. I'm going to show you Studio One Designs because this guy, Greg Merrilees, who founded Studio One Design, gave me this idea, which I have implemented on my site and a bunch of client sites as well. And that is having a timeline that is good storytelling. People love the hero's journey. They love rooting for the underdog. And here, in this case, it's Greg Merrilees, who's just making ends meet, doing t-shirt design, and he gets his big break from these guys, Ezra Firestone and James Schramko, 2 really big, well-known internet marketers. Those t-shirts they're wearing were designed by Greg, and that's the logo that Greg had designed for their Think Act Get podcast. And they were like over the moon about it. And then they wore it at a big conference that they were co-producing together, and they started sending a bunch of business to Greg, and Greg came to that conference and they gave him a shout out, and like they put him on the map just because he was a fan of that podcast and those 2 guys, and he did that free thing for them. And isn't that cool? What a great story. And this is great storytelling. It shows the journey and makes you care about him succeeding. It's super cool. And since I want to show you what a different example looks like, I'll show you mine. Because I just took his idea and kind of tweaked it a bit. I started really young because I was a real uber geek as a kid. A little kid, I taught myself how to program in assembly language, not just basic. On
Hey, Stefan, I'm going to have to bounce.
Yep.
Thanks
Okay.
so much.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks. Great seeing you. And thanks for your
See ya, Ian.
contributions.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck, Ethan.
Thanks, Ian.
So it's important on any page that you're hoping will get traffic on it to have a next action for folks. So your about page should have something that compels them to take a next step, whether it's to sign up for something or it's to book the piano tuning or to get a free thing, whatever it is. There should be always a call to action and also an exit pop. So mine doesn't show up because I had clicked it away before, but yeah, an exit pop that doesn't keep popping up every single time you visit the site. That's another good thing to add. So we're about at time. How was that, Ethan?
So pretty cool. I really appreciate that, Stefan. So if you had to say one last thing, instinctually, would you take what they have and I just own it and start editing it to make it greater, or keep what I have and, you know, make that better? Or third option, you don't even have to say what it is. The third option is better.
Well, the third option would be better if you had a bit of a budget. If your budget is basically spent now, I would probably work from their template rather than Wix, because it's a template in Wix that is a one pager, and that's not workable, and it's probably not easily converted into a 5 or 15 or 30 page website.
I know that I can convert it to have multiple pages easily. That
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have not played with the Wix platform. I just I know some of its limitations from an SEO perspective, and I personally wouldn't use it or recommend it, just like I wouldn't with Squarespace. But if it's going to make it prohibitively more difficult for you to maintain the site yourself, and thus it's going to become stale and a bit of a cobweb because of that, then stay with Wix. But if you think you can manage maintaining a WordPress website, then yeah, you should be on WordPress.
Okay. Cool. Very much appreciated.
You bet. All right, guys.
Thank you so much. It's always
sticking it
fun.
out the floor. Yeah. All
Have
right.
a great day.
guys.
We'll catch you
Super
next week.
informative.
Thanks for being here, John. Thanks, Harry.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Take
Guys.
care. Thanks.